Hello everyone. So today we are going to talk about descriptive writing, especially for the O-level students. The descriptive writing is basically the part of their paper 1. In their paper 1, O-level English 1123, there are two sections. The first section is directed writing, in which they have to write either a letter, report, or an account, or a speech, or an article. And in section 2, which is composition, they have to write one essay, and there are 5 choices. They are given 5 different essay writing topics, and they have to choose one out of those 5. Descriptive writing is also the part of their section 2, which is composition. So today we are going to talk about descriptive writing in detail. What is descriptive writing? When you hear the word descriptive writing, what comes in your mind? The answer is the descriptive writing creates a picture of a person, place, thing, or an event. So whenever you will be asked to write a descriptive writing or a descriptive essay, you will be either asked to describe a person, or you will be asked to describe a place or thing or sometime event. But mostly the students make a mistake when they are asked to describe the event. What they do, instead of describing the event, they start narrating the event. They only tell the series of the incidents which took place while describing the event. So they forget that they were asked to describe the event. They were asked to describe how the decoration or how the event looked like, how the people over there looked like, how how was your feeling. I mean, how each and everything in the picture, if you describe how each and everything looked like, how the people looked like, you were asked to describe the whole event rather than narrate that event. So students forget and they start narrating the story. So you have to remember, whenever you hear the word descriptive writing, you have to create a pictures in the reader's mind who's reading your piece of essay, and you'll be asked to either describe a person, place, thing, or an event. Description tells what something looks, sounds, smells, tastes, or feels like. I'm sure you understood it, that when you are writing descriptive essay, you have to incorporate 5 senses. You have to tell your reader that how something looks like, how something sounds, how something smells, how something tastes, or how you feel like, or something feels like. What are the very important elements that one has to use in the descriptive writing? Good descriptive writing is comprised of 5 elements which are very, very important for writing a descriptive essay. And what are those 5 elements? Number 1 is sensory details. As earlier we were discussing, the 5 sense incorporation of the 5 senses into the descriptive writing makes the descriptive writing of a great success. Then figurative language, you have to use figurative language to in order to make your descriptive writing more attractive. And the figurative language, I mean, you have to use figure of speeches like simile, metaphor, personification, or hyperbole. You have to use these kind of speeches, figure of speeches, figurative language, in order to make your descriptive writing more attractive. And then dominant impressions, you have to use the impressions that can dominate the reader. The reader should not quit your piece of writing and should read till end. And then precise language, do not try to exaggerate, do not use unnecessary information, try to be to the point and use the precise language. And then in the end, careful organization. When you're writing all these things, when you're using all these things and all the information you're describing, organize them carefully, make a proper sequence of all of them, and use them in a proper organization. We will be discussing all these 5 things one by one. So let's get started. Number 1, we are going to discuss the sensory details. A good descriptive essay includes many vivid sensory details. Vivid sensory details means adjectives which can create a picture in the reader's mind. So many vivid sensory details that paint a picture and appeals to all of the reader's senses. I mean, you have to write, you have to include the sensory words, such vivid adjectives which can create a picture in the reader's mind and can appeal his all senses. And what are the sensory words? What are the 5 senses? Sight, hearing, touch, smell, taste. As per requirement, descriptive writing may also paint a picture of the feelings the person, place, or a thing invokes the writer. So you sometime might include or describe the feeling of a person which can invoke the writers. Figurative language. Now, what are the figurative language? Since I've earlier explained that the figurative language means the figure of speeches, which are so many figure of speeches, but most importantly we use 5 to 6 or sometimes between 5 to 10 figure of speeches which are very common. Good descriptive writing often makes us of figurative language to help paint the picture in the reader's mind. There are many ways to use figurative language, and it is a talent that should be practiced until you are perfect. So using the figurative language is of course a talent, and you have to keep using the figurative language when you're writing your descriptive essay, so that you should be perfect one day. And of course the figurative language does not come in one day. You have to make yourself habitual of using the figurative language, and for that you have to learn all the figurative language, all the figure of speeches. Okay, now commonly we use a simile. Simile is also a figure of speech in which we use like or as for the comparison. When we are comparing two things, two people, we use like or as. This is called simile. For example, her smile was like sunshine. So here we use the simile like for comparing her smile with sunshine. A metaphor, when compares two unlike things without using like or as. Okay, metaphor is also just like simile, but in simile we compare someone or something to someone or something using like or as, and in the metaphor we also compare someone to something but without using any like or as. Rather than using these like or comparing them with something, we title them that something we want to say. For example, here I'm saying that her smile was like sunshine, but if I remove the word like, then I would say her smile was sunshine. So rather than using the word like, which was showing the comparison, I have titled her smile as sunshine. So when instead of comparing someone, giving the title of something without the comparison words like or as, that becomes metaphor. For example, her smile was a light that lit up the moon. Her smile was a light. Can you see that her smile was like a light? I did not use like a light or as a light. Instead of using like or something, some such words, I have used her smile was a light. So here I have compared her smile with a light that have lit up the room without using as or like. So this is called metaphor. The difference between simile and metaphor is well explained. And then there is another figurative language, personification, which suggests comparison between a non-living thing and a person by giving the non-living thing human traits. Okay, when we give a human traits, a human quality to a non-living thing, that becomes personification. When you see the non-living thing is having the quality of a living thing, so that becomes personification. For example, the trees were dancing in the rain. So this is figurative language which makes your piece of writing attractive, more beautiful, you see. But here the trees were dancing. Trees do not have the ability of dance. This dancing is the ability of a living thing, mostly the human, but sometimes yes, the animal as well. So dancing is the ability of a living thing which has been given to non-living thing. I mean a non-living thing which at least cannot walk, trees. So that becomes personification. Hope you understand. Let's move to the next slide. Number 3 is dominant impression. A dominant impression is what? When you're writing the descriptive essay, the dominant impression means whatever you feel, your writer should feel, your reader should feel. Whatever you see, your reader should see you through your eyes. Whatever you are experiencing in your writing, or you have experienced, or you experience, your reader should experience through your words. So all together, if I sum up, when you're writing a descriptive essay, the dominant impression means the impression should be used in such a way, it should create a single dominant impression that what exactly you're writing about. For example, the liveliness of a street scene, or the quiet of a summer night. See, when you're describing the street or when you're describing the summer night, you should use such words like liveliness of a street scene or quiet of a summer. These are the words which are dominating, which are just, if in a sentence, if you use a sentence, these words will be more prominent to the reader. So that's why these are the dominant impressions. These impressions will be dominating in your piece of essay and will be playing the role of a hook, you can say, which will be hooking the reader, and that's the reason that the reader will be involved into your piece of writing. So let's jump to the slide number 4. Precise language. Good descriptive writing uses precise language. Using specific words and phrases will help the reader see what you are describing. If a word or a phrase is specific, it is exact and precise. The opposite of specific language is language that is vague, general, or fuzzy. Now, what I'm trying to say here is that the precise language means you have to use the specific words or phrases to describe what you exactly want to describe. Do not use unnecessary or irrelevant words which become vague. If the moment you will start writing something irrelevant, it will become vague or it will become fuzzy for the reader. Now let's jump to the last slide, which is careful organization. This is basically not the last slide, but this is the last element that we were discussing, the 5 most important elements of descriptive writing. There are a few more slides to go. So careful organization. A good descriptive writing is organized. Some ways to organize descriptive writing which includes chronological time, special. This special means the location or the place, and order, importance. You have to organize these things in such a way that looks proper and that could be seen through your eyes to the reader. Now let me give you a few examples of each and everything. Now, spatial order, I mean the place order. Use the locations such as top to bottom, front to back, and left to right. See, when you're describing a place, you have to use each and everything about that place. For example, top to bottom of the place, front to back of the place, from every angle how it looks, and left to right. This is best for describing a place, right? And when you're describing the order of importance, put the most important details at the beginning or at the end. This is called the order of the importance. The very, very important information, the main information which you think can hook the reader, you should put it at the beginning of the descriptive essay, so that it should just hook the reader, so that he should read it till end. Or you have to keep something for your ending that should make your ending interesting. The best way for describing object or object and people. This important information can be used for describing the object or the people. And then chronological order. The chronological order arranges details in time order. This is for time. The chronological order means when you're describing the time or the event, you have to arrange the details in the time order, in a proper time order. that is best for describing the event. You should use the proper order of the details when you're talking about the time order. Let's move to the next slides. Okay, this slide tells us that when you're writing descriptive essay and when you're connecting one paragraph to another paragraph, you should use the transition words and the phrases that signals description. This is very important to know the transition words and the phrases that signal the descriptions. Let's discuss. The transition used in the descriptive writing vary depending on whether you are describing a person or a place or a thing. Here are some examples of transitions that might be used in your descriptive context. Now, to show special order or a direction, when you're talking about a place or a direction, these are the words can be used, and these are the transition words. These words can show the description of the place when you're describing the place, like above, below, behind, beside, beyond, round, next to, nearby, in front of or back of, over, there or here, on the top, under. These are the prepositional phrases, or some are only the prepositions, which can be used to tell the order of a location or a special order or a direction. To show the time order, you can use these transition words or prepositions. Transition words: during, when, afterwards, evening, finally, or currently, shortly, tomorrow, today, formerly, nearby, next, suddenly, then, in front of, back of. These are the words when you're talking about the time order. You can use these words in your descriptive essay. The structure of an essay, that's the final thing we are going to discuss, that when you write your descriptive essay, how it should look like. This is the structure of your descriptive essay. The first is introduction, the second is body, and the third and the final one is the conclusion. So your essay should look something like that, like this. The first paragraph should be the introduction. That should capture the reader's attention, identify your subject. I mean, you have to use a thesis statement and you have to use hook sentence, provide background of information. Okay, sometime when we start the descriptive writing, we put some light on the past, I mean the background of the topic, what exactly the topic, what is the etymology of the topic, what was the past background of the topic that we are going to write, sometime, but not all the time. Then the thesis statement, and here it is written in the detail that there should be a hook sentence which should grab the reader's attention quickly, and should be mysterious statement or a funny statement or a story or a question that can clearly identify the subjects of your essay. I mean, the thesis statement should also be very interesting. Explain the context. There are some information that you can read, how your introduction should look like, or how you can start the introduction, and what element should be there into introductory paragraph. You can read later on. And then the body. Okay, normally the introductory paragraph is of one paragraph, and in the body normally we use 3 to 4 paragraphs, 3 paragraphs to 4 paragraphs, sometimes mostly 3, sometimes 4. And what we use a variety of a detailed sensory words, factual information, figurative language, includes thoughts and feelings, arrange the details into a logical order. We have to use all the information that we have gathered here in the body paragraphs, which are 3 to 4 paragraphs. And what we use, how we write, pile of the details and all that, you can see over here in this. It's a little blurry, but not as much as you cannot see. You can read it if you see it carefully, what exactly you have to write in the body, what you have to include in the body of a descriptive writing. And then comes the conclusion. In the conclusion, we have to re-emphasize the dominant impressions, summarize the material that you have discussed. In the conclusion, what we have to do is whatever we have discussed here in the body and whatever we have discussed here in the introduction, we have to summarize these all paragraphs into one paragraph, and that's called conclusion. And sometime in the conclusion we give the suggestion. If let's suppose we have discussed here a topic which was full of problems, so we might discuss some of the solution or suggestion into the conclusion. But normally whatever we have discussed over here in these two paragraphs, we normally conclude all these points into one paragraph here in the end. As you can see here, close with a flourish to remind your readers why the subject you are describing is important. Restate your dominant impression. So that's the descriptive writing structure.